The air grew thick, as if breathing itself betrayed the silence. Then the whispers started, unraveling Vila Nova from within. Vila Nova isn't on any map worth finding. It's a maze of tangled brick and rusted hope, where narrow alleys curl like veins beneath sagging clotheslines heavy with the scent of damp cotton, sun-baked sweat, and yesterday's cooking fires. The air itself clings to your skin, a viscous embrace, riddled with humidity so dense it seems to compress your very breath until it shudders and breaks like shattered glass. Thunder growls far away, a sluggish pulse beneath the wet heat, as if the sky itself resents the weight pressing down. I'm Lucas. I grew up threading through this claustrophobic lattice, where every crack and crevice holds whispered stories and ancient grudges. Lately, a darkness has crept in, low and creeping like oil into water, staining everything beneath the suffocating heat. It began, not with screams nor sudden violence, but with silence warped by strange forgetfulness, neighbors faltering over words like language himself had cracked. Their eyes, flickering under heavy lids, seemed stretched hollow, windows blown open to shadows that swayed just beyond sight. Coughs broke out, not the harsh coughs of fever, but wet, ragged breaths that clung to the skin like cooling sweat that refused to dry. Maria's fragile figure, cradling her infant beneath flickering street lamps, whispered, voice trembling and thin, "It's just the heat, only the heat." But the thickening dread that seeped through Vila Nova's crooked walls was no summer ailment. It was a fog born from the marrow, a suffocating shroud pressing deep inside chests, pooling heavy in lungs. The nights wove rumors tighter than the haze, stories told in low tones over fading lantern light. "The pester," muttered old Schwal, eyes darting like trapped rats. "Not of flesh, but spirit." Here, the air tastes of superstition, a slow wildfire that cracks friendships like parched wood, leaves gestures clipped and wary beneath the unforgiving glance of neighbors who once smiled openly. One night, heavy with thunderclaps that shook the moldering tin rooftops like the tolling of some cursed bell, I heard it too. A dragging, keening sound from the alley beside my home, raw and deliberate, threading through the moist darkness like a knife through silk. My breath came sharp and hurried, dragged thin by the suffocating heat that pressed down with the weight of floodwaters yet to come. Shapes writhed, abandoned by light, pale faces, slack as drowned things, eyes empty chasms reflecting nothing but the abyss. They said no words, but their silence seeped cold dread into my skin, a living rot that bubbled beneath the surface of the night. Desperate for a tether to sanity, I sought Jonas, my oldest friend, once a steady flame in this crumbling dusk. But when I spoke, his face hardened like cracked plaster. "It's fear," he said with a brittle edge, jaw clenched tight enough to fracture bone. "Your mind's unraveling." That was the last I saw. His house fell silent and empty, save for a chair gently rocking in the humid breeze. A hollow echo of laughter dissolved. The walls seemed to swallow his absence whole. Days blurred into muggy nights where time itself labored beneath the weight of vanished neighbors, swallowed not by violence but a terrible hush that crept into every corner. Phones fell silent. Whispers grew frantic, laced with terror that clawed beyond madness. Doors were barricaded with desperation, sealing hope in against the ever-thickening darkness that twisted along cracked walls and tangled wires, whispering unseen threats into unsuspecting ears. I lived trapped in this waking nightmare, with shadows weaving sinew from the very air, while the distant city's heart throbbed uncaring, relentless. Then the storms broke. The sudden downpours that hammered from a sky torn open, smearing rain like tears that erased footprints and muffled cries beneath thunder's roaring fury. The plague, unseen yet unyielding, seemed to waver in the flood's wash, yet the dread clung like spilled oil beneath the skin, heavier than before. One soaked night, staring through the rain-pocked glass at my balcony window, something mirrored back at me. An impossible face, a grotesque grin twisting and stretching like a living nightmare, trapped between raindrops and shadow, mocking and alive. I tell you from the edge, where exhaustion and fear twist tight enough to suffocate. Vila Nova breathes, but labors, lungs laden with invisible ash, hearts wedged between panic and disbelief. This plague is no flesh-eating shadow, it's a gnawing rot of trust, unraveling the fragile threads of love into suspicion and silence. So what haunts us? Disease or ghost, or the unbearable weight of lives squeezed till spirit breaks? I cannot say. All I know is when thunder roars close above, and rain beats in erratic rhythms against broken roofs, the unseen watchers, always watching, from between these walls that bleed shadow. And Vila Nova waits, silent, breathless, trembling beneath a sky that no longer promises dawn. Have you felt the weight of unseen eyes lurking in the shadows of your world? Share your own whispers from darkness, and remember, some horrors breathe just beyond vision, waiting for us to look too closely.